I rise to express my support for Budget 2021 presented by Senior Minister of Finance, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, under the theme, A Path to Recovery, Economic Dynamism and Resilience. Mr. Speaker, our government stands proud of this budget, not only because it is the first full-year budget presented by our PPPC administration, nor the fact that it is the largest budget presented in Guyana's history. We are proud because the preparation and presentation of the $381.1 billion budget showcase the immense passion and concern that our government holds for the well-being and upliftment of the people of our country, proven by the ample, strategic, and deliberate allocations across all sectors. More so, Mr. Speaker, we stand proud to have been able to successfully achieve this just on the heels of the 2020 emergency budget, which was mandatorily prepared by our PPPC government to begin the revitalization of our country's economy that faced a dire economic downturn originating from the previous 5 years of gross incompetence and poor leadership that created nothing but hardship and poverty for all the people across this country, except the few and their families and friends, some of who currently sit on the other side of this honorable house, now pretending to care about the people of our country, after they were voted out of office by both a motion of no confidence in 2018 and then at the 2020 general and regional elections. Mr. Speaker, they come here with their dedicated theatrics at every single sitting of this National Assembly, but still have absolutely nothing of substance to contribute or bring to the table for the benefit of the people they claim to represent. How witless they are. Nothing but a self-serving bunch. The people of this country have seen your true colors, and no amount of theatrical performance will convince them otherwise. Mr. Speaker, our government inherited a stagnant economy. All credits due to the failed and visionless APNU-AFC administration, the collapse of which culminated after the passage of the no confidence motion, as mentioned earlier, in December 2018, where we saw with our very own eyes the flagrant violations of our Constitution and rule of law, right through the catastrophic 5 months that followed the March 2nd, 2020 general and regional elections. This struggle was only heightened by the deadly coronavirus pandemic, which we had to and still continue to battle. A path to recovery, economic dynamism, and resilience speaks volumes, Mr. Speaker, and breathes hope and life into the hearts of our citizens. It speaks of rebirth. It speaks of renewal. But most of all, it speaks of a new era of prosperity for all Guyanese. An era that our people have for too long hoped for without fruition. The work done by Honorable Minister Dr. Ashni Singh and his team in preparing this 2021 budget is quite admirable, and thus they deserve highest commendation. for producing a budget that is sure to touch the lives of every single Guyanese in many ways, with plans for rapid development and economic growth. Mr. Speaker, I wish to humbly note that this budget will initiate investments in catalytic and transformative infrastructure, including energy infrastructure, to ensure adequate energy supply at a competitive cost, and transport infrastructure to improve international connectivity, thereby unleashing domestic production and productivity. Permit me to remind you, Mr. Speaker, that this budget is in keeping with our government's vision of making Guyana a truly prosperous country and providing benefits to all our citizens while laying the foundation that projects sustainable long-term growth. Along this thrust, I will wish to highlight the plans for the agencies under the Office of the Prime Minister that will aid us in contributing to the realization of our government's vision for the prosperity and improvement of the lives of all Guyanese throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. However, Mr. Speaker, I've been listening to the debates over the last 5 days, and I came to the conclusion that the honorable members on the other side of the House have a problem with reading. And in order for them to understand the budget, I have a pull-out from the newspaper. Sunday Chronicle, February the 14th, budget at a glance. So I urge all the members on the other side of the House to have this pull-out. It's just 4 pages of reading, in fact 3 pages of reading, and that will help you to understand the budget. It's a pity that I didn't have to speak before and offer this to you before you made your speeches in this House. Mr. Speaker, your Prime Minister has many portfolios, unlike his predecessor. Power generation, telecommunication innovation, government information and communication services, disaster preparedness response and management. In our budget 2021, an estimated $8.4 billion has been allocated to the power generation program, Mr. Speaker. Our government foresees the massive potential that energy holds for an economic boom in Guyana, and we remain true to our intentions to achieve the provision of affordable, stable, and reliable electricity throughout our country. More so, the world remains under attack by the coronavirus pandemic, and utilities and power generators worldwide have been forced to alter their practices and develop strategies to deal with the rapid developments and change in patterns, which, with regard to energy consumption as a result. Now, more than ever, the world requires a reliable supply of electricity to prevent further disruption, and Guyana is no exception. With allocations of $240 million for the Sustainable Energy Program, $628.8 million for the Renewable Energy Improvement Power System Project, $750 million for the Energy Matrix Diversification Program, $500 million for the Solar System Project, and $125 million for the small hydro projects. Our government will now work assiduously to implement the necessary measures that will result in improved standard of living for people through the generation and provision of sufficient, stable, and reliable electricity. Mr. Speaker, Allow me to speak on the specific works of the agencies that have a direct bearing on our plans in the power generation sector. Mr. Speaker, an estimated total of $1 billion has been allocated to the Guyana Energy Agency. At present, Guyana is supplied with energy from a variety of energy sources, but at the same time, our country is predominantly reliant on imported fossil-based fuels. Price volatility in international oil markets and the threat of rising temperatures from greenhouse gases necessitate the move to cleaner sources of energy and climate-resilient infrastructure. The most significant step taken to address climate change in Guyana is the development and implementation of, listen to me carefully, the Low Carbon Development Strategy, which was launched in June 2009 and revised in 2010 and 2013. We have returned to the Low Carbon Development Strategy. Your strategy is a bunch of slogans. We need a real strategy that denotes the ways, means, and ends, and approved by the people of Guyana. The strategic vision for the energy sector encompasses the provision of affordable, stable, and reliable energy for households and businesses with an energy mix that includes hydropower, natural gas, solar, and wind, leading to more than 400 megawatts of newly installed capacity over the next 5 years. That's a strategy. And a reduction in the cost of energy by at least 50%. Mr. Speaker, among the measures that our PPPC government is aiming to implement to transform the power sector include the production of 250 megawatts from natural gas in the interim. Urgent action to improve and upgrade the national grid and the completion of the Amelia Falls Hydro Power Project. Cognizant of the declining cost of some renewable energy technologies, the level of maturity of existing energy efficiency technologies, as well as national and international obligations, the Guyana Energy Agency 5-year strategic plan provides key strategic actions to guide the activities of the agency, including the advancement of solar and wind systems for off-grid areas, support for the expansion of the hinterland electrification program, replacement and upgrade of solar PV systems in the hinterland, and the advancement of microgrids for large hinterland areas. The GEA, Mr. Speaker, intends to continue its collaboration with sister agencies, ministries, the private sector, academia, and communities in advancing its vision and mandate towards a sustainable energy future, ensuring energy access to all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, power generation entails the development and implementation of energy policies and oversight of the management of power generation establishments to improve the effective and efficient provision of energy services across the country. An estimated total of $3.1 billion has been allocated to power companies across Guyana. $172.5 million for Letem Power Company, $490 million for Kokwani Utilities Incorporated, $2.3 billion for Lynn Mine, the APN UFC stronghold, $30 million for Mabaruma Power Company, $50 million for Madja Power and Light, $10 million for Moruca Power and Light, $50 million for Matches Ridge Power and Light, and $50 million for Port Kaituma Power and Light. In Guyana, Where power generation is concerned, we also acknowledge the increasing demands for power in the advent of our growing oil and gas sector. The Guyana Power and Light, our country's primary power generation agency, requires massive support and investments so that it can strengthen its capacity to serve the increasing demands and, by extension, our people. This, Mr. Speaker, is one of the essential cornerstones for economic and socio-economic developments. Mr. Speaker, GPL is also rolling ahead with its transmission and distribution plan, which essentially targets redundancy, reliability, capacity upgrades, bulk delivery systems to new load centers, and technical loss reduction via larger conductors and power factor correction. The transmission and distribution system would be subjected to continuous expansion, modernization, and the introduction of automation to ultimately realize a smart grid. The ultimate aim is the integration of a fully automated transmission and distribution metering and generation system. This would realize accurate frequency and voltage controls within operating standards and the ability to undertake corrective action automatically, thus reducing outages in the event of permanent network faults. Mr. Speaker, GPL is currently working with a list of known areas and will continue to ensure access to electricity is improved to 100% by 2024. The company plans to stockpile all metering materials in advance of the customer's base expected growth, while acquiring additional meters to address non-technical losses and effects. Mr. Speaker, above all this, customer service remains high on GPL lists as well, while the reliability and the quality of the supply of electricity delivered to customers are of significant importance to the company. It remains cognizant of the nature of electricity and the importance of leveraging information and communication technological initiatives to improve the efficiencies within its operations. Mr. Speaker, there are also plans for a phased transition from automated meter reading technology to automated metering infrastructure technology in order to facilitate on-demand and scheduled remote retrieval of meter readings. Reduction in estimated bills resulting from meter access challenges, voltage level monitoring at customers' premises, detection of unauthorized interference of electric service at the point of the meter, and remote disconnection or reconnection of electric services. Besides the benefits of replacing the regular meters with AMI meters, which will help improve the quality of service and accounting efficiency, the AMI technology will also help identify voltage levels within the distribution network and inform a critical operational standard and performance measure, voltage regulation. With a list of planned projects to improve the power systems in generation and transmission and distribution, the metering plan and the efficiency and customer service improvement initiatives, GPL plans to meet and exceed technical and non-technical operational standard and performance targets outlined in the 2021-2025 Development and Expansion Program. Mr. Speaker, the Power Utility Upgrade Program is designed to support GPL in executing fundamental infrastructure and investment of a corporate development program, which will allow for a culture change that contributes to an organization that can supply energy within minimum international standards. A total estimate of $1.8 billion has been allocated to this project. The main outcomes of this project, Mr. Speaker, are expected to be the reduction of the technical and non-technical losses. The project will also improve the performances of the power distribution network in terms of reliability. Mr. Speaker, in alignment with the LCDS, the PUUP will reinforce the electricity infrastructure by upgrading part of the transmission and distribution network, which contributes to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 9, that is, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. This project will also contribute towards improving Guyana's doing business conditions by making it easier to obtain electricity through better power network performance, and will impact on the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 8, that is decent work and economic growth, which will be characterized by the country's growth in electricity consumption. The work of the PUUP, Mr. Speaker, will also include identifiable climate mitigation for benefit of reduction of technical losses in the distribution network, an estimated energy saving of 80 gigawatt hour by 2022. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, this project will contribute to the achievement of the goals of SDG 13, which requires urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Specifically, this project addresses the following aspects of GPL's operation: infrastructural upgrade to decrease technical and commercial losses, reinforcement of infrastructure to improve reliability, institutional strengthening through training and reinforcement of techniques required for efficient management at the executive and senior management levels, operational efficiency through consultancies in system planning, energy demand forecasting, supervisory control, and data acquisition, SCADA, operation and maintenance. Mr. Speaker, the work of the Power Producers and Distribution Agency will also contribute to the overall power generation capacity in Guyana. These works include increasing its generating capacity by 44%, with the inclusion of the new installation of 46.5 megawatt power plant at Garden of Eden. Mr. Speaker, the plants, the gensets came into the country in November, but unfortunately the people of Guyana have to wait until the second quarter of 2021 for this project coming on stream, simply due to poor planning by the previous administration. Instead of simultaneous planning, we have to live with the sequential planning approach of the previous administration. Creating additional employment through expansion, supporting government strategies towards alternative sources of energy, including solar power, wind power, liquefied natural gas, and gas-to-shore projects. Providing technical and other support to other energy generating providers, and developing and implementing effective risk management systems and policies to manage current and emerging risks. Interland Electrification Company, Inc., an estimated $202.5 million has been allocated. Mr. Speaker, in 2004, our PPPC government implemented the Unserved Areas Electrification Program, UAEP, the purpose of which was to provide electricity to unserved areas along the coast. Another component under this program also aimed to examine ways in which hinterland areas could have increased access to electricity in the most cost-effective and sustainable manner. At the community level, many of the government institutions were powered by individual solar systems or diesel generators, while about 10% of the communities had a mini-grid supplying electricity to mainly community buildings in a central area, with residential buildings within feasible distance from the grid also receiving supply. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, after assuming office, I wish to report that the HECI, by the end of 2020, would have installed a 1,100 kVA generator at Kokwani, a new engine for the 750 kVA generator at Mabaruma, a new 150 kVA generator at Matthews Ridge, a 12 kilowatt solar microgrid in Yarakita Region 1, a 12 kilowatt solar microgrid in Hotokwai Region 1, 10 kilowatt solar microgrid system in Chinawing Region 7, and a 15 kilowatt solar microgrid system in Phillips Region 7. That is 2020. 2021 plans include the completion of the installation of solar microgrids in Monkey Mountain, Akwini, Bethany, Kabakaburi, and Achiwib. Complete installation of the 150 kilowatt hydropower system at Keto, along with the construction of a distribution system. Install new engines for generators at Letem, Madhya, Port Kaituma, and Matthews Ridge. Upgrade the distribution network in Letem. Install solar home system for households in approximately 200 hinterland communities. That is between 25,000 to 30,000 systems. That project will start in 2021. Each system will provide the average household with dusk to dawn lighting, power for the charging of cell phones and laptops, and operating audio equipment for information and entertainment. Further, Mr. Speaker, HECI plans to install solar PV-powered microgrid system in 50 communities by 2025. This has already started, with such system being completed, as mentioned earlier, in 4 communities. The plan, Mr. Speaker, is to upgrade and expand the generation and distribution capacities in communities with existing grids to serve an additional 450 households and businesses, improve generation reliability, and reduce electricity costs throughout our interior, Letem, Madhya, Port Kaituma, Matthews Ridge, by introducing solar farms to reduce reliance on diesel generation. This has already started with solar farm projects being installed in Letem, Madhya, under the IDB-funded program, which is managed by the Guyana Energy Agency. Across all villages, the maintenance of the energy system is essential to ensure optimum performance and to prolong their useful life. Preventative and emergency maintenance activities on the energy systems will be best provided by local residents. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, through HECI, we plan to provide appropriate training for residents, including females, in all of the nearly 200 hinterland communities during the period 2020-2025. Mr. Speaker, all these plans will be able to commence soon for HECI. Mr. Speaker, the importance of information and communication technology, particularly as it relates to its use as a tool of economic and social empowerment, cannot be overemphasized. Investments in ICT have continually increased globally, causing a massive shift in the global economy. Guyana has made many strides in the innovation of ICTs, but there is some way to go, and this creates room for a country to learn and follow the pattern of larger countries' successes in this regard. There's tremendous potential for ICTs to be used for development in all sectors of our country, including health, education, security, infrastructure, agriculture, and social development. Against this backdrop, I wish to remind you, Mr. Speaker, that that our government is aware of the need for improved ICT access across the country with an aim to bridge the digital divide currently experienced by our people and enhance their quality of living by giving them more access to information and communication. Mr. Speaker, with an estimated $2 billion allocation for the NDMA over the next 5 years, the NDMA will continue to work to transform the delivery of government services and improve citizen quality of life through appropriate use of technology that fosters digital inclusion and public trust. In 2021, the NDMA will continue to focus on improving the quality of public services to citizens, expanding the reach of government services, and facilitating specialized ICT training to fulfill government needs. This is all geared towards providing increased access to internet and government services irrespective of geographic location or monetary status, and increasing ICT literacy. In 2021, the liberalization of the telecommunications sector and concomitant reduction in the rates offered by service providers will allow NDMA to increase the internet bandwidth provided to government, institutions, and agencies. NDMA will drastically improve its internet availability through the utilization of 2 independent providers. This now provides a redundant path for NDMA internet services. NDMA will aggressively be pursuing a fiber optic cable installation project across the coast to facilitate the expansion and reach of government services and replace the limited capacity of the current wireless option. Interconnecting communication towers will allow more capacity and reliability at locations along the coast. These towers will be used to provide improved access to internet services throughout community hotspots and hubs. NDMA currently provides internet access at over 80 sites in the streets of Georgetown, which are free and openly available to all. NDMA is further expanding its internet access to hinterland and remote locations with plans for more expansion beyond the current installations. Leveraging the existing and new fiber infrastructure in Georgetown, the NDMA will proceed to interconnect secondary schools with fiber, thereby significantly increasing bandwidth availability to improve the delivery of the school's virtual curriculum. Safe City. Safe City, the major deliverable for the Guyana National Broadband Project, will be launched in 2021. It will provide a unified emergency call center service via the command center to the public through one number, 911. The citizens will have a single point of access to the police, fire, and emergency ambulance services via this number. Response times are expected to improve along with the coordination of responding resources. Energy responders will be equipped with modern communication devices that can provide real-time video, voice, and data feedback to the command center, which is built specifically for this purpose. The security and regulation of government information systems are important to encourage confidence in the government services by citizens, businesses, and international partners. It is therefore necessary to ensure that these systems and services are protected from cyber threats. One major deliverable for 2021 is the development of the National Cyber Security Strategy for Guyana. Additionally, in 2021, NDMA will be conducting an assessment to ascertain Guyana's capability to respond to cybersecurity incidents of national significance. Further, NDMA is in the process of developing government-wide cybersecurity policies, NDMA will continue to focus on monitoring and securing the government networks and services, as well as responding to cyber incidents of national importance.
Such amount we can't use either.
Mr. Speaker, one of the government of Guyana's most significant achievements to date is its ability to bring to close the long-awaited liberalization of the telecommunications sector. A feat completed within 2 months of taking office. The PPPC completed this campaign promise in record time, Mr. Speaker. This single move, which was long overdue and delayed by the previous administration, will create a quantum leap in communications and the way we connect. It will also fast-track the development of the associated technologies, stimulating tremendous social and economic benefits in traditionally dependent sectors by leveraging technology. Within weeks of liberalization and its introduction of a new competitive landscape, Guyana experienced new speeds and services offered by major service providers. Today, Guyana can easily access gigabit internet speeds on par with services offered in the region and the force world. This is a clear example of liberalization enabling rapid development in the country, such as the access to the latest technologies, such as robust fiber optic and fixed 5G services across the most densely populated parts of Guyana. Liberalization has also resulted in a decrease in wholesale prices for bandwidth capacity towards some 80%. This has enabled the NDMA to access quadruple bandwidth capacity, which has strengthened our ability to improve the delivery of services tasked to this agency. Mr. Speaker, only recently in this very House, we experienced the work of the NDMA being able to increase your bandwidth to facilitate your work. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Prime Minister has also given our support to the construction of 2 new subsea cables, which will strengthen the resilience of our international connectivity and ensure our sector's preparedness for a rapidly developing economy. The Office of the Prime Minister will also widen its focus from macro services to the empowerment of smaller rural providers to extend connectivity across the country. We have already tasked the Telecommunications Agency to equip these small providers to join us in the mammoth task of providing universal services for all our brothers and sisters countrywide, and especially in the hinterland. This also ties into our recent order that allows for the registration of small internet service providers. This move will contribute to our promise of universal services and stimulate increased economic activity in ICT in these communities. This is a crucial strategy to boost connectivity and ensure there is space for the small ICT business. We will also implement robust policies that advocate for providing services based on modern protocols, including number portability and interconnection standards, and those that support the Public Utilities Commission to conduct its mandate effectively. Mr. Speaker, we believe these initiatives will contribute to drive the sector's progression in favor of increased benefits to the Guyanese people. As an example, Mr. Speaker, number portability, which gives ownership of one's telephone number to the consumer rather than the provider, is a measure that enables the consumer to choose the best service provider for his or her needs without the cost of switching to new numbers. This forces the provider to ensure the best quality and affordability rather than locking in clients who did not wish to change their number, their current number. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Prime Minister is also currently reviewing its spectrum policy by engaging stakeholders, telecom professionals, and external expertise. We believe that this collaboration will ensure that we are prepared for the 5G revolution that will boost internet connectivity and support the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and so much more that have been associated with advanced 5G services. We're also working to equip the telecom agency with the resources, exposure, and skill set necessary to prepare us for a modern future in telecommunications. Mr. Speaker, in my 2020 budget presentation, I highlighted the increased access to technology resulting in the growing demand by the public for accountability and transparency from their government. All across the world, people are now more empowered and continue to call on those in power to remain transparent and keep them informed. Our PPPC government remains committed to this cause, and provisions under the Government Information and Communication Services Program speaks volume with regard to this commitment. A total of $961.3 million has been allocated for this year's budget towards this area. Mr. Speaker, an estimated $375 million has been allocated to the National Communications Network to carry out its work, programs, and plans. NCN is aiming to become the first network in Guyana to be fully digital while educating, entertaining, inspiring, and using all technological and compatible advancements available. Linden has begun the process with Borbies on the list. The radio stations, postal and regional, have been equipped with the latest broadcast equipment and are almost fully digital. Through the regional radio stations and TV relays, the interior regions of Guyana, particularly regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, and interior communities of regions 2, 6, and 10 are no longer deprived of the opportunity of information sharing and communication with government and economic centers of the coast. NCN enables the provision of access to information, an increasingly important constitutional and human right, Mr. Speaker. Over the next 4 years, NCN will embark on reaching those communities in sub-regions already receiving service, but due to mountainous terrain and lack of electricity, they are unable to receive our signal. NCN will partner with other state agencies like the Guyana Energy Agency to ensure there is a provision of reliable power for these additional facilities. This effort will realize the growth and development of indigenous broadcasters and create employment. Through a satellite link with NCN in Georgetown, these stations will be able to access daily programs from the main national broadcaster in Georgetown, covering news, current affairs, national, cultural, and social events, including sports and entertainment. Live broadcasts from Parliament and key national events, as well as special educational and health programs produced by NCN. NCN intends to remain compliant with the time frame set out in the Persons with Disabilities Act 2012 that makes provisions for the inclusion of sign language or subtitles. Chapter 36, Bureau 5, Section 26, 1 and 2 of the Act stipulates that, and I quote, every national television station shall provide a sign language inset or subtitles in at least one newscast program daily and special programs covering events of national significance, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, NCN will explore forthwith the use of closed captioning and the use of sign language interpreters as part of its social responsibility and will endeavor to be compliant by 2022. It is estimated that 50,000 people comprise Guyana's persons with disabilities population. Of this population, 9.1% or 4,406 people suffer from hearing impediment, 30% or 14,525 persons suffer from visual impairment. NCN will start with sign language or closed captioning during the major newscasts, presidential addresses, and other important public information. And in the coming years, will also strive to present major programs in the indigenous and Creole languages. As NCN strives to expand and diversify both programming and human resource capacity, Mr. Speaker, the agency under the direction of the Minister within the Office of the Prime Minister and Board of Directors anticipate that it will receive technical and programmatic capacity building as outlined by the Department of Public Affairs. Further, the agency will be part of a universal exchange program established through key external, international, bilateral partners and benefit from training of new communication recruits for the state media. NCN already has several noteworthy broadcasters and TV presenters who can be emulated by those now joining the profession. They can hear archive recordings from the early days of Brigadier in 1951 to the Guyana Broadcasting Service in 1958 and the Guyana Broadcasting Corporation in 1979 to modern-day NCN in 2021. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Public Affairs, a few days ago, in his address to this House, envisaged the development of a National Broadcast Academy in collaboration with the Guyana Press Association, Guyana Broadcasting Authority, and the University of Guyana. This initiative will provide the opportunity for young broadcasters to be adequately trained and mentored in all areas of broadcasting. NCN sees itself as being a major contributor and beneficiary in this endeavor over the next 4 years. For 2021 to 2025, NCN will continue to establish itself as the only network in this country that reaches across all regions via television, radio, and social media, and intends to be the first network fully digital, using all technological and compatible advancements available in order to efficiently execute our mandate of promoting the social and human development of the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, a total estimate of $310 million allocated to the Department of Public Information will allow for continued access to public information for all our citizens, which is a right enshrined in the Constitution of Guyana. Therefore, as mentioned before, our government, in respect of this constitutional right, is obligated to provide information to the people of Guyana on all matters relating to policy decisions and national plans, programs, and events. Such information is essential to promoting both understanding of all public issues and encouraging meaningful engagement with and involvement of the Guyanese people. In keeping with this obligation, the Department of Public Information is mandated to serve as the public relations arm of the government. It is tasked with ensuring citizens are informed and kept abreast with the work programs, policies, plans, events, and activities of the government. It is also responsible for special productions and coverage of and promotion of national events and initiatives. As such, it is anticipated that the DPI will become the government information agency overseeing the coordination, dissemination, and promulgation of the work of the government through various channels. It will serve as a central coordinating hub for public information and government activity. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, it is envisioned that from 2021 to 2025, the department will be transformed into a rationalized, equipped, and efficient government information unit with optimized national reach Through staged interventions, it is envisioned that the department will become a leader in the production, creation, and promotion of the government's work. Our government has recognized that there must be greater focus on making government messaging clear, understandable, and easy to obtain. It has been noted that official government information needs to be distinctly and consistently identifiable to minimize instances of confusion on the part of the public and to ensure the message is received in the way it was intended. Mr. Speaker, a total of $563 million has been allocated to the Civil Defense Commission for it to carry out its work. As our country continues to develop and expand, the CDC will be focusing heavily on institutional strengthening within the organization to better position the agency to lead and coordinate disaster risk management across Guyana in a fast-paced and efficient way. Mr. Speaker, I wish to report that from August the 2nd, 2020 to December, the Civil Defense Commission has distributed 42,615 food and sanitation hampers throughout Guyana at a cost of $434.3 million. Of note, Mr. Speaker, is that the CDC wants to legitimize its role and authority in coordinating disaster risk management at all levels through the passage and implementation of the requisite legislation for Guyana. This crucial milestone will necessitate various degrees of capacity and awareness building across the country in order to educate the population on the new regulations and to establish and implement the governance system and roles contained therein. The CDC intends to vastly ramp up its efforts towards education and awareness, therefore, in the areas of disaster risk management, recognizing that awareness is a critical catalyst to drive positive action in reducing risks and building resilience. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, the CDC intends to establish mechanisms for extensive and continuous data gathering on risk and risk reduction impacts in the long and short term, and the accurate analyses and reporting of these against various regional and international targets. The CDC strategic vision for 2021-2025 is to see the enhancement of capacities for preparedness and response at all levels. National oil spill readiness has been prioritized by the agency as one of its focus areas within the coming 5 years, given the new and emerging threats associated with this developing industry. Mr. Speaker, health, agriculture, natural resources, finance, education, and infrastructure have been identified as the priority sectors for disaster risk management institutional strengthening during 2021-2025. And the CDC, therefore, will support these sectors in the development of sector-specific plans. Mr. Speaker, while much has been said about what our government plans to do, we must also consider all that has already been done by our administration, particularly within such a short time frame and under political and economic constraints. Within the first 100 days of our government taking office, our country and our people saw a massive shift as we aim to urgently deliver and bring immediate relief to the people. Our government took charge of the health crisis in this country. Procuring medical supplies and delivering much needed relief to our citizens amid the coronavirus pandemic. When we took over, we only had 4 ventilators in this country. Today we have 25 ventilators. We had lockdown and 21 tests being done per day. Today we have no lockdown Over 2,000 tests being done, and protection of the lives and economic livelihood of the people. Let me repeat for you. Our government took charge of the health crisis in this country, procuring medical supplies and delivering much-needed relief to our citizens amid the coronavirus pandemic. Our government strived to reduce the strains that weighed on our economy and rebuild significant interest in investments in our country. Mr. Speaker, our PPPC government has been working arduously to restore hope in the lives of our people, our citizens, rebuild trust and confidence, and uplift our people in a manner that they can realize true prosperity in all aspects of life. This is important, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to submit electronically what I'm going to read now. After forming the government on the 2nd of August 2020, it was quite revealing, and many of what I'm going to reveal now is captured in our daily papers. Guyana Times, 6th of August, infectious disease hospital, a total disaster. Guyana Times, the 9th of August 2020, APNU, AFC, left GFC, that's the Guyana Forestry Commission, bankrupt, unable to pay staff millions in debt. Stabroek News, the 10th of August 2020, Director of Parks, Larry London, was getting huge salary and benefits. Hardly lived in country. Hardly live in country in Guyana. Kaichur News, the 16th of August 2020, woman who filed the Recong challenge, given 7.5 million contract in June 2020 by APNU AFC. Comment to that one. Guyana Times, 17th of August 2020, Carol Joseph was paid as petroleum advisor. Other posts under APNU AFC government. Guyana Times, the 24th of August 2020, APNU AFC owes NCN $16 million for campaign ads. Mr. Speaker, until this date, it has not been paid up. Stabroek News, the 24th of August, update. I need to be guided here, Mr. Speaker. I should say Christopher, arrested as cops remove barbershop equipment. Publication, Guyana Times, the 23rd of August, 2020. You said it was boring. APNU AFC government spent over $60 million from taxpayers to retain private lawyers. Stabroek News, the 16th of September 2020. Region 6 health sector was plagued by mismanagement under APNU AFC. Says veterinary anesthetic machine was bought for hospital. Something for animals, bought for humans. 18th of September 2020, APNU AFC left broken healthcare system to address pandemic. The 22nd of September 2020, Stabroek News, Larry London contract for board certificates raises eyebrows. Kaichur News, the 22nd of September 2020, asphalt plant racket uncovered. Kaichur News, 23rd of September 2020, government launch investigation into asphalt plant racket. Demerara Harbor Bridge Management distances itself from allegations. Kaichur News, The 24th of September 2020, Lands and Survey boss Trevor Ben bought 25 million Prado for 2.5 million from his own workplace. Kaichor News, the 30th of September 2020, Christopher Jones gifted state lands twice.
Honorable Member Christopher Jones, Honorable
Member Christopher Jones, Mr. Speaker, gifted state lands twice. Trevor Ben waived land fees. Barbershop scandal.
Honorable Prime Minister, you'll have to wind down.
Guyana Times, the 8th of October 2020, 170 billion spent by APNU AFC in capital funds cannot be fully accounted for. And this is from the Accountant General. Chronicle newspaper, the 14th of October 2020, Sarah dismantled, director, deputy, and staff fired. They appointed themselves, right? 25th of October 2020, iNews Guyana, massive land conspiracy connected to Ogle Diamond Bypass project unearthed. Prime land leased to shell companies under APNU AFC flipped for profit. Chronicle newspaper, the 28th of October 2020, APNU lawyer implicated in land scandal. Police so coup to investigate transactions. Starbrook News, the 4th of November 2020, land corruption. Guyana Times, the 7th of November 2020, Ganesh Mahipal, Honorable Ganesh Mahipal, absent from work for 33 days, divulged confidential information.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. We need to conclude.
Guyana Times, 10th of November 2020, bombshell revelations. A chronicle of nepotism, corrupt practices, wanton spending by APNU AFC. 100 days of discoveries. Starbrook News, the 29th of November 2020, millions of unaccounted for from SLED initiative. Starbrook News, the 30th of November 2020, US $1 million
Honorable
deposited.
Prime Minister, you'll have to conclude.
I'm concluding, Mr. Speaker. For bond was not red flag. Starbrook News, Mustafa, Honorable Mustafa, hold on 1 million in D&I contracts, asks AG to probe after massive unapproved variations. Mr. Speaker, the list can go on, but it's important that I mention that in order to mention that what is certain is that our people all across this country now have a government that is serving in their best interests, and we will continue to do so. As our president, my colleague ministers and I travel to communities in all regions, all 10 regions. We see, feel, and hear about the relief that people now enjoy as a result of all the measures our PPPC government has put in place so far. The changes in people's lives in the past 6 months of a change of government has restored hope, and our people now look forward with great confidence to enjoying a bright future for themselves and their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, our PPPC government is a working government. We work not only in the office behind closed door flipping papers all day long, we get up and we get out in the fields to meet with the people. We serve so that when we come here to this house, we truly represent what the people want, and the decisions we make here do not take away, but add and improve the lives of our people, because their voices are finally heard with our PPPC government. Mr. Speaker, many communities that I visited since I
Mr.
became
Prime Minister, I don't want to cut your mic.
2 minutes, Mr. Speaker. Many communities
2
that
minutes would be 2 minutes too long.
many communities that I visit, Mr. Speaker, has told me that this is the first time in 5 years they have seen a prime minister and a minister of government. Mr. Speaker, our government, President Ali, myself, all our ministers are accessible to all of our people. Our doors remain open, and we will continue our work in that manner. And for those who don't come to us, we will come to you because we are for all Guyanese. Development for all Guyana in keeping with our motto, One Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the presentations made by myself and colleagues in defense of the allocations in Budget 2021 have all flawlessly illustrated how our government programs and plans for every area and sector will undoubtedly contribute to restoration. The new day for Guyana and all Guyanese has finally come. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.